Amelia eats. More than anything in the world, I love my dad. He's a big man, weighing in at 300 pounds. And where he lacked hair on his head, he made up for it with his big, bushy mustache. He was a picture of a polished dad, loud, proud, and very hard-working. My father worked his fingers to the bone in a mechanic shop for 20 years and saved every penny until he could fulfill his dream. In 28, my pa, Glenn Lowendesky, opened Amelia Eats. Guess who Amelia is? It was a massive restaurant that was hard to fill up, and even harder to maintain, but always made enough to stay afloat and have just enough profit to keep the lights on. In 2016, my daddy left us. 56 years of hard work, no play, and pushing herself too hard took a toll. My dad left me Amelia Eats, and I had the choice to sell or maintain it. I felt like he could still be with me if I could keep his dream alive. I told a lawyer who represented my father's estate that I would be keeping Amelia's open, and he said he would be in touch. The first few weeks were hard. The customers had all grown used to the jolly man with a thick accent and knack of cooking, lighting up the restaurant. Now his 5'2", thick-haired, dull toad of a daughter was struggling to pick up a frying pan and light up the world with it, just like him. Well, my dad taught me everything there's to know about Poland, cooking and Polish cooking. He didn't really leave instructions on how to be a figure. I didn't know how to inspire his staff to work hard, lift up his customers, and keep his bill collectors at bay. 1 month in, a box came from my dad. Inside was his chef coat, a manila envelope, and a binder full of financial records. About half an hour of crying into his coat and asking the universe why he had to go. I finally opened the binder. I found out that Amelia's was a bridal shop before it was a restaurant, and that's why it was so big. I also found a lot of old invoices and paperwork, detailing 8 years of expenses. Then I opened the envelope to find a letter from my father. It read, "My darling Amelia, you are the apple of my eye and the moon in my sky. Never has there been a man more proud of his daughter. When you receive this letter, I will be gone from this world. Amelia, through you, I will never truly be gone. I'm always in your heart, guiding you towards what is right. I have left you with your own namesake. I hope you love it, and it may become your dream like it was mine. You should keep her. There's only one thing you should know. Every night at midnight, the store must be done with dinner service completely and ready to be closed. The staff must be ready to leave 18 midnight. And no matter what, no exceptions, right before you leave, you must prepare a plate of your most popular Polish dish and take it down to the basement. Leave the plate at the center of the basement, then turn around and leave. Leave all the lights on, and you must never look back. I hope you do what makes you happy, my darling Amelia. Love, Papa." I thought the letter was a little odd, but I chalked it up to my dad taking it astray and keeping it in the basement of Amelia's. After an emotional night, I went to work the next day. My father had a right-hand man who helped him run the restaurant, an old buddy from the auto plant. His name was Sergio, another Polish immigrant. He was around my dad's age, and really rocking the grumpy old man attitude. It didn't really matter though. Sergio came to work on time every day and worked hard. I never had to worry about the basement or the weird request because every day Sergio closed up the restaurant for me and took care of it all. When I brought up the letter, Sergio looked sad for a moment and said, "Got it," and walked away. Months went by, and I made some changes to Amelia's. I cleaned it up a bit, spiced up the menu and the decor, really started to make it Amelia's for the first time. One day, though, I woke up to a call from Sergio's wife. She told me Sergio had fallen ill and could no longer work. This was devastating, to hear my father's best friend in the world would soon be following him to whatever waiting us after our time on Earth. I got to work, hiring someone to replace Sergio, but in the meantime, I had to close up every day. I never been the type to back away from a challenge, but working open to close every day at Amelia's put a strain on my body and mind. The first few nights were okay. I followed my father's instructions to a T. We had been flying through sauerkraut pedigrees like crazy, so around 11:45 p.m. each night I brought a paper plate of steaming hot pierogies to the basement and left them there. The basement was incredibly damp. The lights hung low and dim, and I could barely make anything out but the white tile floor. The thing that bothered me the most was the smell. The basement smelled like mold and rot, and overwhelmed me at times. I went down there. The last night I ever stepped foot in Amelia's, I had made some latkes and pork chops for my father's tray. The mud was really eating good. I got to the bottom of the steps and tried to get a good looking around. Nothing was discernible in the dim basement as usual. I looked at my watch. 11:49. I set the plate down but decided to look around. Maybe try to find the mud that my father left down here. He probably just made a midnight roll up so employees wouldn't waste time on the clock. At first, all I found were a bunch of scattered trash, discarded fabric rolls, rusty shears, paper plates with animal waste, and more mildly disturbing things. I looked at my clock. The minutes had ticked away into the infagony of normal basement and slithered away. It was now 11:59. My father's warning reached out of my mind and painted my face to a mask of panic. Something guttural shifted in me. Some deep human instinct that takes over when your car is hydroplaning. And you know it was because you were going too fast. And all you can think is, I really messed up. 12 a.m. Midnight. The air shifted in the basement. The mild wing still air had a breeze. The coppery tone took the room hostage and demanded you observe it. Clank. What was that? I thought to myself. I was standing just under a light, 15 feet away from the staircase. A frozen horror as another noise. Clank. I wasn't feeling fear. I was there. I was a rabbit in a trap of a wolf that was licking its lips and circling around. I was a fable. A cautionary story of an immigrant girls to listen to from the papas. I was going to die. Clank. No, that is silly. I told myself I was being irrational. I needed to get it together before I got myself hurt. It was just a mutt. Just a stupid mutt. Clank. How can a mutt make such a intimidating metallic noise? It sounded like a rusty chain dragging on the concrete. Clank. My legs started to move, and all of a sudden, I was running towards the staircase. Clank, clank, clank. Whatever it was gaining on me and fast. I leaped to the first step and hit a huge clunk. And the sound of something hitting the ground. I dared a look and saw an assassinated figure on its hands and knees. That's right, hands. It looked like a woman in a wedding dress, with oily black hair, braided obsidian hole for a mouth, oozing a silky yellow pus, and 2 empty sockets for eyes. She looked like a person who had been wrung out and left to dry. She had a rusty chain around her neck, and bloody cuts around her neck from where she had tried to claw it off. I didn't waste any more time. I ran up the stairs straight out of Amelia's for good. Amelia's never opened his doors again. Sergio never got better, and I was forever changed. I sold my restaurant to some hipsters. It's some juice bar farmer's market now. My father would have hated it. Wife's funeral. I encountered the son, Justin. Justin told me he worked with my dad and Sergio at Amelia's for summer. One night, my dad's car had broken down. He waited for the restaurant to close, and Sergio gave him a ride home. On the ride, they got to talking. Justin said they were going on about how my dad got the restaurant for so cheap because it used to be a bridal shop. He said that the owner had been kidnapping young brides and chaining them up in the basement, forcing his twisted fantasies on them every night. I don't know what was in that basement. All I know is that I go my Amy now, and I'm doing my best to forget what I saw in that basement.